Welcome to this walkthrough of the features of our new sample library, the Mandolin. If you're familiar with any of our more recent virtual stringed instruments, you'll recognize much of the interface here. There are two playing modes, solo and chords. We'll start with solo. The symbols represent different articulations, and this graph in the center allows you to set key velocity switch points. For instance, right now we're set for hammer-ons in the high key velocity range and mutes in the low range. Any velocity between these arrows is just normal sustains. You can just drag the arrows to change the switch points. You can even cover the whole range with one articulation. And you can just turn them off completely. I should mention that all of these can be played using key switches as well, which override the velocity settings. So I can mix and match, maybe use key velocity for hammer-ons and key switches for other things. There is a key to the symbols in the user guide, but once you play them, you see that they're pretty self-explanatory. By the way, many of these articulations are tempo synced, and if you hit the More Settings button, you can set the note values for hammer-ons and trills and adjust the bend times. There's also a mixer here for adjusting the volume of each articulation. The master key knob comes into play here as well, since the intervals used in things like hammer-ons and trills are based on the key you choose. Okay, you've heard the hammer-ons. We have pull-offs, up trills, down trills, up slides, down slides. Two kinds of bends, a simple up bend and a bend that goes up and comes back down. And we can add harmony to that. Okay, last but not least, tremolo. You can add harmony to the tremolo. You can control the tremolo speed here. You can also set the tremolo to a note value. If you use this with harmony, you can get kind of an auto strumming thing happening. And this button uses key velocity to add harmony. You can also add harmony with a key switch or latch it on with this button. You can set the harmony interval here. The steel setting works well for bluegrass or country. A third up works for most everything else. There's an automatic vibrato, because it can be hard to use a mod wheel and key switches at the same time. There are also controls for release sample volume and string noises. Okay, let's put it all together. I'll play something that uses several articulations. Let's switch to chord mode. Here, you can play down strums in one octave and up strums in the next octave. And you can just kind of alternate between them. To change a chord, just click on the root note and choose from any of the preset chords. For instance, if I want a C minor and a G7, I can hit the C note, choose minor, then hit a G note, choose the 7th, you can actually create any chord you like just by dragging the notes on the fretboard. Turn any string on or off. If you don't like what you came up with, just reset the chord. There are dedicated user chord locations, and you can copy any chord to any of the user's spots. Keep in mind, though, that every single chord in the instrument can be customized, so you could have like 180 custom chords if you wanted. You can change the chord variations in the background with key switches. If I am using a D7 and I know that I've got a D minor coming up, I just hit a D in this octave, then the minor key switch in this octave, and the next time I hit a D root note, I'll get a D minor. This can all happen while your sequence is playing. The Link Chords button chooses common chords for you based on the key you choose. The Mutes button creates muted chords. This is great for playing rhythm parts, especially in bluegrass or country music. Mandolin players will use what they call chop chords that are voiced higher in order to stand out more. So just hit the chop button and all of the chords are set to major chop chords. Hit it again and they're all minor. We'll set it to all major. If we need a minor, we can just change the one chord. Now you can reset all the chords to normal with a master key knob as long as you have the link button on. Now this velocity switch button will give you a combination of sustains and mutes. You can arpeggiate a chord rather than strumming it. This works with mutes too. The Gear button brings up some global settings. You can save your chords and load them into another project. Also, here is where you can change the key switches if you like. The Effects button shows you some very basic effects controls. Well, that's about it. Thank you for taking the time to check out the Mandolin from Indiginus.